Hey guys, in our previous notes, we talked about how to deal with this fraction that's showing us division when solving a one-step equation. So we did the opposite or inverse operation of division and multiplied by 6 on both sides. So it looked like this. And the reason I put the fraction on the side is because we multiply fractions horizontally and not vertically. The 6's cancel, so we have a over 1, which is a. 1 over 1 is 1, so a times 1 is a. What we do on the right, we do on the left. I didn't use the fraction form here because this was not a fraction, so I just left the 6 as a whole number. Okay, I wanted to remind you of that because the ones that we're going to talk about now are fractions that don't have the variable in the numerator like this one. Okay. Or like this one. The one we're going to talk about is here. Okay. Go ahead and draw your river. Whenever there's a fraction, you're only going to need one more equal sign. If you happen to draw 2 when you're done, just erase it because you're not going to need it. They're multiplying by a fraction. Okay, the inverse or opposite of multiplying by a fraction is to divide by a fraction. So we're going to divide this side by 2/9. So if you have, so divide by a fraction. What we're going to do is do the 2/9 divided by 2/9. But you have to remember when we divide fractions, we don't do regular division. The way it works out is, some people call it keep, change, flip. Some people say multiply by the reciprocal. So you would do your 2 over 9 times the 9 over 2. So the key here, guys, is to multiply by reciprocal. Because that is how we divide fractions, multiplying by the reciprocal. Again, we're going to put that on the side. And I'm going to use parentheses because a dot looks kind of crazy. So the reciprocal of 2/9 is 9 over 2. Okay. Now, if I do that on the right side, I do it on the left side. So I'm going to multiply it by 9 over 2. And it looks really crazy, but I promise it'll make sense in just a second. Since we're multiplying 2/9 times a times 9 over 2, commutative property says we can forget about the a right now and just multiply the fractions because we can multiply in whatever order we want to. So when we do this, not looking at that a, oops, I'm going to move that over just a little bit. Not looking at the a, we can cancel the 9s. They both make 1s. Cancel out the 2s because they're 1s. And now we have 1 times a times 1, which gives us exactly what we want, a. Can't do this mentally, so we're going to come over here and do 9 over 2 times 140. And we need to make the 140 a fraction, so we're going to put it over 1. We can cancel here because 2 goes into 2 and 2 goes into 140. And then 9 times 70 is 630 over 1, but that's a whole number, so you need to write it as such. So the answer is 630. Well, that looks absolutely crazy, so we don't know if we're right. We need to check it. Come out to the side, we got to copy the original. 140 equals 2/9 times what we think a equals, and we think a is 630. Well, okay. We know that there's no work on the left, so you just bring that straight down. We have a math problem on the right, so I'm going to come over here and do my 2 over 9 times 630 over 1. These will cancel because 9 goes into 9 and 9 goes into 630. And then 2 times 70 is 140. 1 times 1 is 1, and that is a whole number. So we have 140 equals 140. We know our solution is correct. And we can box the solution. Okay, so just to recap, when you're multiplying a fraction by a variable, the inverse is to divide by that fraction. But when we divide fractions, we really multiply by the reciprocal. When we multiply fractions, we put them side by side horizontally. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. All right, I want you to pause the video. I want you to try this one and come back when you're done. Welcome back. I'm going to walk you through it step by step to make sure you got it correct. So I drew my river. I'm going to look up the right side because that's where the variable is. It is being multiplied by a fraction, so I'm going to divide by a fraction. And when we divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to flip that over. And what you do on the right, you do on the left. Okay. These will make ones because they cancel out. You're left with n. Now we're going to do this problem over here. 7 over 3 times 18 over 1. These should cancel and make a 6 here. 6 times 7 is 42. The denominator is 1, so it's a whole number. So that's 42. I hope you got that's the solution. Now we need to check it. The check step says 18 equals 3/7 times 42. We have no math to do on the left side, so you just bring down the 18. And now I have a math problem here. I'm going to do 3 over 7 times 42 over 1. 7 goes into 7, 7 goes into 42. 6 times 3 is 18. The denominator is 1, so it's a whole number. So 18 equals 18. Perfect. And this is our solution. Okay, I hope you saw the differences between multiplying by a fraction and dividing by a number. One thing I would like to show you, though, is that for this kind of problem, this problem, 2 equals a over 6, is the same exact problem as 2 equals 1/6 times a. And the reason they are exactly the same, yes, you could work this one out by multiplying by 6. We now know how to multiply by the reciprocal here, and you would multiply by 6. But the reason they look different is because when you do 1/6 times a over 1, because that's what this tells you to do, look at what you get. 1 times a is a, and 6 times 1 is 6. So that's how this looks the same as that. So it really doesn't matter which way you go about in solving this one. If you rewrite this as a over 6, you could just multiply by 6 as well. That little trick of putting your variable in the numerator and the number in the denominator only works when the numerator is a 1. That is the only time it works, because 1 times a is a. All right, well, I hope this clears up any questions you may have. Good luck.